This is Football Happy Hour on CBS Sports HQ. I'm Chris Hassel, continuing to follow a developing story in Seattle as more details emerge in the spat between Russell Wilson and the Seahawks. His agent telling ESPN that while Wilson hasn't demanded a trade, he only wants to be traded to the Cowboys, Saints, Raiders, or Bears. The Athletic reporting that Wilson stormed out of a November meeting because his ideas and suggestions were dismissed. Now, the 32-year-old still has 3 years remaining on his contract, but it does have a potential out after this upcoming season, 2021. Now, Wilson has the most wins through his first 9 seasons in NFL history, but he's also been sacked more than any other quarterback in his first 9 seasons since the merger in 1970. The Seahawks did bring in a new offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron, this offseason. He's believed to be a quote-unquote Russell Wilson guy. Now, Sportsline has some odds for you. The teams most likely to trade for Russell Wilson, the Raiders would be the favorites at 3-1, followed by the Broncos, Cowboys, Panthers, Washington, the Dolphins up there as well. But as ESPN reported, Russell Wilson has not asked or demanded for a trade at this point. So let's break it down. We've got our quarterback, Danny Kanell. We also have the 2-time Super Bowl champion, Bryant Mcfadden. Danny, this is interesting because while the report states that he hasn't requested a trade, the report also states that he says, if you do trade me, I'm only going to these 4 teams. What do you think of that?
Wow, I've been telling you guys for a while now, for a few weeks, this offseason is going to be unlike any we've ever seen as far as quarterback movement. We've already seen a couple blockbuster moves with Matthew Stafford going to LA and Jared Goff going to Detroit. We're probably going to see Drew Brees hang it up. We've seen Deshaun Watson out there on the open market. We're seeing movement. It's going to happen. This is the new era. Quarterbacks aren't happy and they're going to let it be known. And I do think there's more behind this story because Russell Wilson, usually when there's smoke, there's fire. He probably isn't happy with the supporting cast that he's been given. So I say this is probably, there's some legitimacy behind this one. I think the Seattle would be crazy to move on from him. I think he's one of the most underrated elite quarterbacks in the NFL. He's a consistent winner. He's gonna have you in a position to make the playoffs. He's gonna bail you out of a lot of bad plays. He's a competitor. So I think they'd be crazy to move on for him. I think they're best suited to keep him happy. Like, why not listen to his input? I don't love the way Russell Wilson apparently had to go about getting his voice heard, but at some point, you've been there long enough, you've earned the right to have some input on what is going to be run and even some personnel to some extent. So I understand the frustration, but man, I just wonder what type of boiling point this is going to get to if he actually is on the move.
In this latest episode of Quarterbacks Going Rogue, Russell Wilson wants to be traded, but he hasn't officially said, I want to be traded. I love it. This is entertaining for me. This is real good for the NFL, in my opinion, because now they're just stealing headlines after headlines. Usually we see wide receivers, defensive backs, pass rushers force their way out of their current situation. We don't usually see quarterbacks doing this, right? We know about Deshaun Watson and how disgruntled he has been there in Houston, but now my beloved quarterback, curly-haired Russell Wilson. I mean, he is the one quarterback that we all love. Even if you hate the Seattle Seahawks, the likelihood of you liking Russell Wilson is highly likely because he's that type of guy. He has the curly hair, he has a nice smile. I mean, he has everything you would want your quarterback to have on and off the football field. But now he's starting to speak up for himself and he's just tired of what has been going on there in Seattle. So me personally, I love it. It gives us a lot to talk about, not to mention just watching to see exactly what will happen from Russell or from the Seattle Seahawks. I do agree with Danny. They will be fools if they decide to trade Russell Wilson. I don't care what an organization is offering. Russell Wilson is a Hall of Famer. He's an elite player. He is still in his prime years. He still has another good 6-7 great years left, in my opinion, in his professional career. And that can change a franchise if you decide to trade him away, and if you're the franchise that gets him in return. So me personally, I don't think the Seattle Seahawks will even think or just entertain the idea of trading Russell Wilson. But hearing this, I'm gonna just say this, right? Russell, you said yes, his agent He hasn't requested to be traded. But if it happens, these are the teams he would like to go to. You basically say you want to be traded because you already have a list of teams ready, locked and loaded. So let's see exactly what happens. But yes, Danny, you're right. Where there's smoke, there's usually fire. And I can tell you this much, we don't usually hear this coming from Russell Wilson or his camp. So clearly he is disgruntled and he's unhappy.
Yeah, look, I'm not gonna make you buy me a car, but if you're going to, I want a Mercedes or a BMW or a Range Rover. Danny, how do you think this thing is going to end? Bryant says he doesn't see the Seahawks actually going through with this and putting him on the trade block. What do you think?
Man, this has been a wild offseason. I forgot about the Carson Wentz move, which was coming. That was inevitable. This one, to me, I would be shocked if this one happens. This would be jaw hits the floor, all hands on deck, like we're calling every NFL analyst here on CBS Sports HQ saying, can you believe this happened? Get the breaking news ticker up. We got to break it down. I don't think we get that call. I thought it was interesting, too, of the 4 teams he mentioned, 3 in the NFC. One being the Cowboys, who have Dak Prescott, coming back. I don't envision them moving on. I think the Raiders as the Vegas favorite there, plus 300, does make some sense. You hear some rumblings from the Raiders that they're not exactly thrilled with Derek Carr. They'd like a quarterback to help take them to the next level. Clearly, Russell Wilson would be an upgrade there. But I think you would have to offer, a king's ransom to try to get this deal done. Especially with only allowing 4 teams to do it. Who has the trade capital to pull it off? Who has something to make it that attractive? Because of all the moves we've seen so far, and the Detroit move on from Matthew Stafford to Jared Goff, what they offered him, this is bigger. Like, you'd have to put a package together even more impressive because Russell Wilson, again, he is an elite quarterback. I think he's a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. Maybe, especially with Drew Brees moving on and retiring, he's an elite level quarterback and he's going to command a lot in return to move on from him. So I think it's a long shot. And again, I think Seattle would be better served to put better talent around him, give him an offensive line, let him have some input on the offense because he's disgruntled clearly. And these rumblings have happened every offseason. It's interesting because, for a while he wanted to go to New York because Sierra, his wife, is an entertainer and he wanted to be in a big market. Well, of all those markets you mentioned, Vegas probably makes the most sense from that standpoint, although I don't buy too much into that. You'd want to be in LA or New York, but I'd be surprised if this happens. I don't think this move gets done.
I don't either, but I can tell you this much. I think this will be a very, very difficult situation. And the reason why I say that, guys, is because usually when you hear a player trying to force their way out of their current situation, they're either trying to do it for a few reasons. Number one, money, right? They're trying to get a new contract, and clearly their current organization, they're not willing to pay them just yet. Or 2, it's a bad team. From top to bottom, it's going the wrong direction. They're in a rebuild type of situation. It makes more sense for Deshaun Watson to request a trade from the Houston Texans because they're in a rebuild type deal. They're starting from the ground up. And he don't want to be a part of that. He wants to be a part of a team that competes for a championship, or at least they have a shot. Carson Wentz, granted, he got benched last year. They were bad, he was bad. It made sense for Carson Wentz to, behind the scenes, force his way out of Philly. But with Russell, they made the playoffs last year. Every year it's safe to say the Seahawks, granted, Russell wants more support, but every year it's safe to say they're a playoff caliber team. They're a divisional championship caliber team. It's not like the situations that I just mentioned in Houston or in Philly, or with Matthew Stafford, who was he was at the back end of a contract. They got a new regime there, new GM, new head coach. So of course they wanted to go a different direction. Everything that's in place for Russell currently has been there when they won championships. When you look at the staff, when you look at the execs, it's all together. That's a winning organization. So if you're a part of that team, if you're a teammate of Russell Wilson, yes, we all recognize that we need help. They need to help you, but it's not that bad. And you look at the teams that he mentioned, Chicago, Dallas, New Orleans, and the Jets. Last time I checked, only one of those teams made the playoffs, and that was the New Orleans Saints. So he just wants to get away from Seattle, it seems to me, because they win ball games. They compete for championships. Heck, Jamal Adams was with the Jets last year and then getting traded to the Seahawks this season rather. And We heard how happy he was about the change of scenery and being a part of a championship caliber team. So this is going to be a very sticky situation because as a teammate, you can understand Deshaun Watson's gripe, right? As a teammate, you can understand Jamal Adams' gripe. You can understand Carson Wentz's issue. But understanding Russell, yes, they don't protect you as well as you would like to be protected, but we're still winning. So I don't know how you can come back from that, especially you're talking about the quarterback who is a leader on the team. That's a leadership position, going back into that locker room and getting everybody under the same page and saying, you know what, I just had an issue, but I'm back here to win ball games with you guys. I don't know how he can win the locker room back over with these statements.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.